Matian, Kargil, Budkharbu, a lot of places. So when everybody went ahead, so the rear area, which is the main unit location, that had to be managed by somebody. So that was me. War is something not everybody has seen, and that was unprecedented, especially in that sector. Nobody had seen aggression since the China-India war. We were treated at par with my brother. There was no difference between us. So all of those things made me believe that girls can do everything that guys can. And they always say universe supports you if you think very, very deeply about something or you wish for. And probably that happened with me. I was an NCC cadet through my college. I was senior under officer of the girls battalion. Went to all the ATC camps, did everything that a typical cadet does. And well, I made it to the SSB, and in the first SSB, first attempt.
Jai Hind everyone. This is Robin's Riff podcast, and here we have retired Major Vandana Sharma with us. She's a Kargil War veteran, and she has been, after her retirement, it has been 18 years, and she has been serving 18 years relentlessly in the corporate sector. She has worked as lead HR in posts like Mintra and Wipro. Ma'am, as we all know that you were in the Kargil War, right? Uh, First of all, a big event in our history. Uh, what were your roles? We would like to know in the Kargil War.
My role in Kargil War. So, 1999, when the war happened, um, it was a high altitude and a field area where they did not post women unless you volunteered for it. So I had volunteered for high altitude in 1998, and it was a very peaceful place. And I was part of, as you know, Army Ordnance Corps, which takes care of the logistics. And when we say logistics, there are two parts. One is about clothing, ammunition, tire tube battery, technical stores. So that's something that the ordnance people manage. And the other is Army Service Corps, which takes care of your perishables like fuel, petroleum, food, rations, etc. So, as part of the ordnance unit in Leh, um, I was the junior most officer. I was a field captain. I was a lieutenant, and when you're posted in field, earlier and you're filling a captain's position, so you get promoted to a field captain. So I was a junior most. I started in peacetime. I used to do a lot of learning sort of roles, which are early beginner roles. So there's something called indent validation, which means when the dependent troops reach out to you for the stores that they need. So you go through their demand, you see whether it is making sense, is it the fair amount that they've asked, what is due to them, So all of that as a young officer who was right uh, starting the career this was my second unit. My first unit was in the Northeast. So I started with that, but generally a young officer like that goes to do all the other sort of things. So I was managing security, I was managing quartermaster role and administration. So these were some of the things that I was doing. And when the war started, that time, because suddenly there was such a big need of everything in the war zone, all the senior officers, people who were senior to me, all of them moved to Kargil, and not just Kargil, to Dras, Matian, Kargil, Budkharbu, a lot of places. So when everybody went ahead, so the rear area, which is the main unit location, that had to be managed by somebody. So that was me. And with me, I had the commanding officer of the unit because he was responsible for all the guidelines that came from the higher headquarters. So he was there, and there was another senior officer who used to manage all the demanding of stores, what is required, and basically the whole execution part of it. So we were just three officers who were managing the entire area, which usually a team of say 10 to 12 officers take care of, and all the other officers who were higher qualified into ammunition or clothing, they basically headed ahead because war is something not everybody has seen, and that was unprecedented, especially in that sector. Nobody had seen aggression since the China India war. So there was a lot going on, and as a young officer, I basically pitched in wherever I was needed, wherever I was told, okay, you have to take care of doing various things. So um, I think the most important aspect was security, because the depot is prone to sabotage. Because if somebody comes and destroys, and this is like your mother depot, right? So if that gets affected, then everything that you're feeding forward, that stops. So that was a huge responsibility. Entire day we used to be issuing stores and managing a lot of things, and there were many things that I did in that time period. Organize one STDPCO for the troops who used to come to collect stores, so that they can talk to their families, or pass a message to the relatives of other troops, things like that. Apart from that, I was also managing the mm, how do I say, overall welfare of everybody who was there. So those were primarily my responsibilities, and of course, many things that I typically don't talk about, because it brings a lot of pain when you remember the wartime. There was a lot of death and devastation that you suddenly see as a very young 24-year-old officer, and it wasn't the most happy time of your life. So while you learn a lot, I think it changed me as a person, and I always say that war brought a big change in me. I became very grateful in life. I've started to be thankful for every day of my life since then, and that's how I try to build on my life and my career always. In between, I also volunteered to go to Kargil. I requested my commanding officer, because when the troops, I used to sign the movement orders, I thought I must also go and experience what it feels like. It shouldn't be that I'm a girl, so I'm not sent. So I went with one of the convoys and took the stores to our Kargil deck, and I was there for about 2 weeks. And that's the time you actually realize what war is. Reading about it, watching it on television, hearing about it from somebody else is not the same thing as experiencing it. So when you know that every shell that is landing, say 100 meters ahead of you or behind you, can land on you as well. And if that happens, or even if you get hit by a smallest of splinter, it can mean end of everything. So of course it is scary. I wouldn't say that it doesn't bother you. Of course it is scary. You don't know how to deal with it, but you're brave. You tell yourself, well, I wore a uniform for this. And my family also was very supportive. My mom, whenever she managed to talk to us, my father, my brother, just to say, we are very proud of you. A soldier wears a uniform to see this day, and you're fortunate to be there and serving the country, and we are very proud of you. And when you know that your family is telling you in so many words, it gives you a lot of strength and courage, and then all your fears go away. So I think these are some of the experiences that I remember from a very, very young age.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so when I was reading about you, I came to know that you coming from a defense background. So I was able to connect a lot because I'm also coming from a defense background. So my question to you was, you were born in a defense background. So how was your childhood life? Like, was there a specific moment which that which made you to think that yes, you were made for the forces?
My father was in the Air Force, and he was
Yes.
posted to a lot of air bases across the country. So it was a beautiful life. We have been to border towns in Assam and Gujarat and big cities like Pune, Hyderabad. So it was a very balanced, very beautiful childhood. And as you know, in air bases, you typically see MiGs fly all the time. And our childhood memories typically were that when you were studying in the school and suddenly a MiG flies, so there's so much of noise and you're closing your ears and waiting. The teacher's also waiting quietly that once the noise stops and then she'll start teaching again. So it was fun. We used to say, okay, today there are more MiGs in the air, so the teacher will not teach us, and we used to laugh. So very very fun time like that. The beautiful part was whenever I used to see pilots, make pilots. So all those uncles were like real heroes for us, and I used to always see them, and I used to wonder why girls can't become officers and why can't we fly the planes. I used to wear my father's uniform or wear his cap and look at myself in the mirror just to see how I look. Those were the early memories of. I always thought we should also get this opportunity, but they said no, it's only the doctors are women, but it's not possible. So that felt a little unfair, but I mean, we were part of a defense family, and the good part was in a forces family, there are a lot of things which already put you in the mindset of a soldier. So while your father is a serving soldier, but the way you're raised, I think those
Yes.
values are discipline, high integrity, ethics, this timeliness or punctuality. Even my mom, I think she was as soldierly as my father, I'd say. We had a very beautiful, very regimented life. A lot of uh, progressive thinking. We were treated at par with my brother. There was no difference between us. So all of those things made me believe that girls can do everything that guys can. And when I went to college, thankfully the commission opened up, and I always say that uh, they always say universe supports you if you think very very deeply about something or you wish for, and probably that happened with me, because by the time I came to college, the women's commission opened up, and that time I knew that I don't want to do anything else. This is pretty much what I want to do. And God was kind. I was an NCC cadet through my college. I was senior under officer of the girls battalion. Went to all the ATC camps, did everything that a typical cadet does, and well, I made it to the SSB, and in the first SSB first attempt, I went and I cleared it. So I think I was very happy. I was very blessed and um, very, very pleased that I got what I wanted in life.
That was very
Ma'am,
inspiring to hear that.
Thank you.
a lot of cadets of our NCC, they aspire to be officers, young officers. They like to wear the uniform. So, whenever they think about joining the forces as an officer rank, the first and the most important challenge that comes in their way is the SSP, as it has been hyped up as the most difficult interview in all of Asia. So, if you could like to share some insight about that, how were you able to clear it? What were some, if, should I say, tips or something you followed that helped you in the journey?
Look, today, as we speak in 2025, there are so many training institutes and coachings that happen, and a lot of help is available today. But back in the day when we were training for it, I don't think there was anything available. Um, my early tips, I'd say, came from my elder brother who was in the army, and he's 8 years older to me. So he was in academy when I was already in college. So when I heard about me clearing the, getting the call letter, he was the only person I reached out to say, Bhaiya, how did you clear? What did you do? And he had gone to Bhopal SSB and mine was 11 SSB. And they always said that 11 SSB, rejection SSB. So there were a lot of those preconceived notions that one has. But I said, okay, I'll do my bit. Uh, and I'm giving you a very unfiltered, very honest view. And the reason why I'm telling you this is just for you to know that you can do it without any preparation. But in my case, there used to be something called competition success review. These were magazines in which they used to uh, teach interviewing skills. How do you navigate tough questions and everything about leadership? So my father used to subscribe to those books. So I did a lot of reading up of all the interviewing skills sort of questions, and they were actually for UPSC, not army. But somewhere the way you crack your leadership or administration related interviews, they are pretty much the same, because it's about checking the mindset of a person. As a leader, how will you lead? What kind of a person are you? A positive person? Can you see um, a solution where there's a problem? It should not be the other way around, that when everything is fine, you have a problem creator. You need somebody who can solve things, who can calm things down, who can think clearly through everything and prioritize very well. So these things are common, whether it's a IAS interview or whether it's an army interview. So I remember I used to read that and try to understand what is it that would be asked of us. And of course, apart from that, I did find out what are the different kinds of tests. And there were some tips, some things, like people said, when you have your psychometric tests, you have to be a positive person. And of course, if you are in general a positive person, it's easy for you to be a positive person in how you play. You can't fake it. These tests are smart enough to figure if you are fudging your responses. So you have to be yourself. So I think the way to work on it is to ensure that you remain yourself, and in general you build a positive mindset, a growth mindset. You remain somebody who's resilient and tough mentally. So those are some of the things that you need to work on. And of course, now that there is so much help out there, I'd advise you to also try and get some sort of coaching, understand what kind of centers are available, solve some written exams. The papers are available. You can have group discussions. I think communication is very important for defense. So articulation and confidence, it's not necessarily about English, it's not the language, but communication. How clearly can you communicate? How confident is your body language? Because if you have to lead, you have to be confident, you have to be able to take life and death decisions. And if you are somebody who loses the mind or gets nervous, then obviously you can't lead people into war or tricky situations every single day. So those are some of the things that I remember, and this is way back, right? I'm talking of 1996. But I think Army still operates on the same principles of leadership. So these are some of the things that are essential for you to develop. And once you do that, well, apart from that, you need to be physically fit. You need to be very, very mm, articulate in the way you speak. And of course, I think clear thinking. These are some of the things that I feel are very, very important when they talk about OLQ and things like that.
So coming to your academy days, what is that one memory you still cherish the most?
There are many actually. I'll quickly touch on one or two. I think Camp Shatrujit was the most interesting part, because that's the time you go out of the academy. You are actually living under the sky and the sun, digging trenches. There are actual demonstrations and mock fights where you have to make your strategy and plan and live the whole battle scene. So I think that was very interesting. And to be honest, there are two things I'll talk about Camp Shatrujit here. One, that's the first time you realize how hard it is to dig trenches, because when you generally see others doing it, you don't realize how much of labor and effort it takes. But when we had those favdas and shovels in our hands, and when we had to do, and there was a limited time given to you, you realize, oh my God, it takes so much time. And if you don't go through that yourself as a cadet, tomorrow when you are giving orders to your men to do something like that, you may not even know the actual effort it takes, how much of time it consumes to be able to dig a proper trench, or dig in defenses and things like that. So it builds a lot of empathy. It humbles you, it builds a lot of empathy, and I think it just grounds you, literally, when you do that. So that's one memory. The other is, I remember we were extremely tired, and basically you distribute your work, all the cadets, you decide, okay, three of us are going to dig this trench and somebody else is doing something else. So we were supposed to get inspected by our instructor in the morning, and we had not finished, and it's dark, there is no light, you can't light the lanterns and all that, so you have to finish, and the sun has set. So how do you do it? You somehow try and keep digging and trying to make a proper trench. So I remember my other cadet friends, they were tired and they went off to sleep. But I kept digging slowly. I kept doing my bit. I was sitting quietly and doing it. And suddenly, it's like while I was doing it, I just felt there's somebody behind me. Very, very stealth mode. I just felt, but you have that feeling, right? When somebody comes and stands behind, and I suddenly look back, and I see a image, a person shadow, and I suddenly knew that it's the instructor, the DS. And I was suddenly very, very shocked, and I said, "Good evening, sir." So he said, "You haven't finished?" I said, "No, sir. I'm still doing it." He said, "Okay, okay, keep up, keep up your Josh," and went away. Now we kept digging. We finished in the morning. Of course, we were ready. The inspection happened. Everything happened. Now, when I was passing out, when you have your last conversation, you become an officer, and all the good things happen. Um, our instructor still remembered that about me, and he told me, he said, "You'll do very well in your life. I know that, because I've seen you work quietly in the dark without anybody around, because a lot of people work when somebody is watching you. You want to be known, and I was very, very sincerely doing my thing, and he remembered that about me, and he told me that. And that felt very, very nice. I think that was a very heartwarming moment for me, that he remembers that among so many cadets, that one night I was sitting and quietly doing my bit, and he told me that. So I think that's the most beautiful memory. Apart from that, in Camp Shatrujit, you walk about 25 kilometer with, it's a race back where you're carrying 22 kg of load on you, a weapon, and your buddies, and you have a race. Basically, you have to defeat the other team, and you have to win, and it's not easy. You walk, 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 you get tired, and somehow you make it. At the end of it, your legs are shaking, but it's that sense of accomplishment that you did it. So I think those are the most beautiful memories for me.
Ma'am, all of those training days, training so hard, then after you joined the army, you rose to the rank of major. All of those years that you served in the army. Army, as people say, it is a way of life. It
Right.
instills a lot of things, a lot of discipline in your life. Even if we are in NCC, we do NCC for 3 years in college, and just by the end of the first year, everywhere in the class, whenever we are walking in the corridors, we start doing drills. We're always practicing the drills. So, how was the transition between your military life to your corporate life or your civil life? Was it that easy? How was it?
It wasn't actually, because, like I mentioned, I was born in a defense family. Uh, then I joined army and I was an officer. So you are sort of cast in stone as a soldier. You become a type. And I always say that when you see a military officer among thousands of people, you kind
Mm.
of know that this person is a Fauji. And that happens because the way you're trained, the way you conduct yourself, there is a personality that gets formed over the years. So it's a lovely thing actually, and you become very very um, cast in stone. I think I'll continue to say that. Um, uh, I was transitioning out and I had to choose a new career. And that's the time I knew that a lot will have to change because the world outside was very different. We lived in a beautiful bubble. Army, everything is in a certain way. People are very well trained, they know what is expected of them. But as soon as you come out of that mold, you realize that the world outside is a very different place. So there were many things which were different. The life was different. From small towns and open roads, you suddenly in a big city, chaos, noise, pollution. You don't know the ways of the world, and I couldn't even drive in that chaos because I just found it impossible to navigate the city traffic. So that was a smaller problem. The bigger problem was I was not tech savvy, because army we did not need to know so much of technology those days back in the day. Now it's not the same, but then everything was on files. So learning technology to be able to work with in an IT company, that was a lot of new learning. And when you're middle aged, it's a huge shift in your mind that you need to bring to be able to reskill yourself and start all over again. So there was life as well as career. Both changes were happening at the same time. And the third was being a parent. I had two little boys. So as a mother, you have to manage your children also. And in a new city, they need care. You don't have a support system. So already you're dealing with all this craziness, and apart from that, you're also a caregiver to your babies. So there were too many things. I think too many levers that were moving together. So there was a lot of juggle. But then, as I always say, you prioritize on a daily basis. You decide what is more important for me today. What is it that needs a higher focus? And the path keeps appearing as you keep walking. So that's how I managed.
Yes, ma'am. So now coming from uniform to being an entrepreneur, so how do you think your leadership style evolved from the military service to managing a brand, Vamika, right? And
Yes.
so was starting this business a part of your plan after retirement, or did it happen spontaneously?
um, I always say that I don't think I worked with a plan. I think the only plan I made was to join army. And God was kind, it happened, and I had a beautiful 10 years of my career there. But after that, when I moved out, it was because the permanent commission was not there for women. And I had to reskill, I had to start a new life in corporate. And I did, with God's grace, I did well. Um, Eventually I moved from big companies to startups. And when I worked with entrepreneurs who were running their own startups, and I think that was a fascinating time because I learned so much. I could see ground up, the whole journey of a company going 0 to 1 and 1 to 10, how it evolves with time. And you see how each of these large organizations would have happened. And I always thought that while in the army you're directly giving back for the country, if you can be a good entrepreneur, that's another way of contributing back to the economy, to the employment, to preserving the culture that we come from. So there's so much that is possible. So I always desire to do that, and I've tried multiple things. I've tried to, run. a consulting practice. I have tried to do recruitment firm. I have also sort of engaged with the education technology platform. So I did multiple things after my three stints as CHROs in different startups. And of course, I've always loved fashion. I was the head of HR for supply chain in Mintra. And the only thing that bothered me was the fast fashion. While I love fashion, I always thought that it brings a lot of waste. And how can we be more responsible with what we want to look like, or how we dress? Can it be more sustainable? Can it also bring the Indian culture to the forefront? So I think that's something that pushed me to think of Vamika as a brand. And it started with me personally starting to wear more slow fashion, and basically throttle back and buy less, become a more minimalist. And when I started to do all that, I realized this is something that I wanted more people to do. So I thought, if I get into starting a heritage brand where we are supporting Indian weavers, Indian crafts, if we can bring the sari back in fashion as a Indian garment and take it to the world, that would be phenomenal. And that kind of pushed me to take this seriously. And there we are. I think Mamika has become such a beautiful project, and it's very nascent stages, but it's growing very beautifully. I get those the validation, so to say, from customers, the clients who are already buying from us. I see firsthand the satisfaction that comes from buying directly from a weaver. Whatever you are spending on, it goes to support his family, and it's not a big corporation which is benefiting from what you're trying to do. So I think there's a lot of things that come together, and that is why this is something that I love. uh, I definitely enjoy the freedom I experience as far as leadership is concerned in the corporate sector, because as you know, army is a very top down and a very set way of leading your people. There is a hukum for everything. But in the corporate world, it is a matrix organization. While there are some conventional places where you have this manufacturing and setups like that, where it is still very top driven and things like that. But IT setups, startups, a lot of new age companies, they are very flat hierarchy. And the workforce has very young people, and I enjoy working with young people. My own children are Gen Z, and now they are entering workforce. So I don't find it difficult while people say so many things about different generation. I think I know them. I've raised two of them, so it's fun. I relate to them very well. It's very nice to work with them, full of energy. And I think the Gen Z and the young professional today are very conscious and mindful of sustainable fashion, sustainable living, work life balance, and this is a great thing. I personally believe it's a great thing. You need to know what is the right thing for you as a human being, as a person, and be responsible. So that gives me a lot of hope, and I think it's a new journey, very exciting, and I hope it goes a long way.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am. Was there something in your mind while choosing the name Vamika for your brand?
Yeah. So actually, Vamika is Ma Parvati, and I it also starts with V. My name is Vandana. So I just thought, what would be a beautiful name which connects us back to our mythology. And basically, our collection started with Banarasi stuff. So we wanted to bring in more Kashi ethnic sort of apparel. And so when we started with Banarasi saris, I wanted to look at how we link it back to Banaras and how we can link it to a goddess. And I think that's how Vamika happened. It just seemed like a very beautiful name to add to the heritage and the beauty, and how we say Shakti, right? I think the Indian goddess, she has so many avatars. She can be a mother, we call her Ma Parvati, and she can be a Durga, and she can even be a Kali. So there's a warrior side of her, there's a mother side of her, the nurturing one, and there's beauty. There's so many things to it. So I thought Vamika was a beautiful name to uh, name our venture.
Right, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So now, how does a typical day for you looks like it was back then and now as civilian life? How does it look like?
So, when you say civilian life, I think it's been 2 decades since I left army, 18 years, and my day has been different. Sorry, my dog is here. So
Okay,
I always say that he's my co-founder in the venture. His general responsibility is to keep the morale high when me and team are working, and he's always in the middle of all the action that happens. So he's right there while we talk. Uh,
absolutely.
how a typical day goes, there are so many things, because when you are setting up a new venture, there are so many things that start. So now I don't work a set number of hours. There are days when you're starting at 6 in the morning and 11:30 or 1 a.m. in the night also, because you get so busy, caught up in researching some content, learning about some kind of weave, talking to some new weavers or wholesalers, uh, creating content for the Instagram page, deciding on the schedule for the entire week. What are the weaves that you want to showcase? What is it that you're going to do? How much to price? How to do that? So there are so many aspects that go on. And with a very lean team, you have to also be very frugal. You have to be asset light, and you have to try and make sure that whatever you get is aesthetic, and keeping a ear to the ground, as they say. Talk to your customers, try and understand what is it that's selling, and what is it that's not doing very well. What are the kind of products that you want to launch? And of course, it's a very, very competitive and difficult market. So each day is a learning. um, and I think it might take at least a year to figure the real product market fit, because so many things I still feel I don't know. Knowing a business or doing a business is different. It's like, if I have to give the same example as a soldier, going to academy, training for it, knowing what a war looks like is different from actually being in a war. So it's the same thing as going to a business school, learning from books, working for somebody else, working for somebody else's dream. But in the end, when you're doing your own, you realize it's so many factors out there that play up. And again, it's a juggle. You're again prioritizing things on a daily basis, whether today is a content day, whether it's a procurement day, whether it is trying to buy new packaging, whether it is worth exploring a new logistics partner, last mile delivery guys. What somebody is offering may be available, may not be available. So many things. It's crazy. So now I feel that 24 hours are also not enough, and it keeps me fully consumed and occupied. But I'm very happy. It just makes me so happy that. You have a clear purpose in front of you, and that's very exciting. So I think each day is different, but if I have to answer your question, I do try and wake up and do a bit of meditation and have my tea, and try and do a little bit of exercising or walking on some of the days, if not every day. But after that, the day just catches up. I try and prioritize and see, okay, what are the top three things that I have to do today? Which might also be like I have to pack some gifts, right? A customer has a specific need. This particular package needs to go to so and so. This is what I need written on it, and things like that. And I also do very, very personalized handwritten notes and things like that. So I try to make it delightful for the person who's getting it. So, working on all that. Then we have shoots or exhibitions that I do. So you have people coming over, you have the teams here, and everybody helping you with various things. So, multiple things that go on in our day. Um, I suddenly realize, okay, this is 6 p.m., and then you try to wrap up, you try to go meet friends, you try to take a break in between, do some more walk or exercise, or maybe just take Maximus for a walk. And after early dinner, again, I'm back to something on Vamika.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, as you have been in the Kargil War, have you been also following the recent Operation Sindoor that has been ongoing? And if yes, then what are your views on it?
So, um, how do I put it? See, when I was there in the war zone myself, and I had seen so much of death and devastation and destruction, um, war changes you as a person. I think I've already told that, and that's one line that continues to stay with me and live that experience every single day. So you never want a war. You never wish for it. And for the longest time in my life, and I've told this, I'd done a TED talk for MNIT Jaipur, where I narrated this incident of making the coffins for the martyrs, and that was heartbreaking. And every time I tried to tell that story, I used to be in tears. So, living through something like that, you never wish for a war again, because the price that a soldier or his family pays is higher than anything else. So, I've always maintained that. However, I also come from a family where my parents always said that वो रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की कविता ना भय बिन होए न प्रीत. If you don't show deterrence, somebody will walk over your head. And I think when Pahalgam happened, that's what happened with us. So, while every other thing that had happened in the past, all the terror attacks, I always felt that they need a limited sort of offensive, and we fall back. But this time, I actually thought enough is enough, and you can't be taken for granted. This is so wrong, and we need a solid action. It definitely means um, repercussions, a slump in the economy, and a lot of things. But they had to be taught a lesson. So I think it was a right call to launch the Op Sindoor, and I think it was done in a very dignified manner. India has always maintained um, a stand of not launching offensive against the enemy, or the country or the citizens of the country, and it has always been a response to the terror, and I think it was very, very well handled. So I think I'm completely with the government on the way it was managed.
Ma'am, it has been a very common notion among people that whatever has happened is not enough, as we have also lost a few lives while the operation was ongoing in Pooch and in areas like that. So it is my personal question that I would like to ask you. That, I was thinking that however we are replying to the ongoing war-like situations, we can actually cut the area between Pooch and Uri, that is the Hajipir Pass, as we have already done it in the 1965 war, the Second India-Pakistan War, if I'm not wrong. So I think the only thing that can shake Pakistan and open the eyes of its leaders is its territory being captured. So do you follow me on that?
See, I think there have been enough debates and discussions around these things, and people wanting a higher offensive or bigger attack. But like I said, it's not that simple, first of all. There are a lot of factors that go into taking these decisions. You have to also keep in mind that when you're engaging with a foolish enemy who's not worth
Mhm.
your time and energy, it also takes you back from your track of progress. So we are very well on our way to becoming a superpower. We are doing well economically. And probably that's the reason why these derailments are being sent our way. Because if you get caught up with some nonsensical distractions like that, it takes you away from the path of progress. So while you want to beat the hell out of them and fix them, but it comes at a price. So are we ready to get invested with somebody who's insignificant and useless, or we keep our eye on the ball and make sure that we are very well on the way to going forward? So emotion is good, but I always say that Josh ke saath hosh. And I've used this formula or this motto of my life in different aspects. I have been a risk taker. I've taken a lot of risks with my career, with opportunities that came my way. But I always say that Josh, achhi baat hai, you have to also think with hosh, with the sensibility. Uh, I think what actions have taken place clearly demonstrate that we can finish everything that's needed, the kind of punch that was needed. But we have also shown restraint because we expect them to behave beyond this, and we don't want to disturb our uh, accelerated path of progress that we are doing right now. So I think a lot of people are very unhappy about the ceasefire, but I do think it was the right thing. And I again go back to the time I spent in Kargil, right? I've seen devastation firsthand. It's not pleasant, and it's not that you're only going to kill. You will also lose your own people, and that's heartbreaking. And it's the futility of it, right?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
breaks your heart. You realize that if there was another option or the way to sort something, it's better. And I think the um, Indus Water Treaty was a great um, step which was never taken in the past. So I think if you just drive them economically, and it's not just that you have to use your might to break an enemy. There are multiple things that can be done, and that's when the messages are given more in a robust manner. So वो बोलते हैं ना, मैनेजमेंट में साम दाम दंड भेद. You have to use different tools. It's not just one की डंडा उठाया मारा. It's not that. You have to bleed them dry.
Yes, ma'am.
So ठीक है. I think uh, we are not blessed with a good set of neighbors, and this is not a problem that's going to go away. It's going to be around. It will keep raising its ugly head every now and then. So it'll happen again. I was having this conversation with my son, and he was also fully, enraged and saying, they keep doing this and don't know what to do. I sort of joked and I said, they are not going away anywhere. There are neighbors that are going to be around, and trust me, no matter how much we try to avoid them or ignore them and continue on a path of progress, these guys are going to be at it. So don't worry, you will definitely have more opportunity to contribute in future. And I say
Right,
this
ma'am.
with anger, but I also laugh it off because what do you do? It's something that we have to live with.
Exactly, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So wrapping up with today's last question about what career mistakes do young people make in their life right now, and what one advice that you give to all those NCC cadets and students aspiring to be in the armed forces one day.
um, let's say any career. Okay, because I will have advice for people aspiring to join army as well as people who have careers outside. uh, First of all, I think it's what you should do as a young college student. What is important is to understand what are your strengths, and What are your areas of development? That is the number one thing that you must do. Um, Once you understand that, if you try to align your career interest with something that you are already strong with, be rest assured you will succeed, because you don't have to put in too much effort, it comes naturally to you. You have to
Yes.
understand that. And I often joke and I say that if suppose I wanted to sing like Lata Mangeshkar, that's my ambition. But am I good enough? Will somebody listen to me? Will I make money out of it? Will I be known as a great singer? There are so many aspects of it, right? So it's not that you make an ambition and you don't have the right talent or skills required. So that's something that's extremely important. Know what you're good at, and there's only one way to find out. Try the things that you think you want to do, and keep at it till a point where you know that yes, you're succeeding. However, there will sometimes be those signs where you realize that you work very hard but you're not making a breakthrough, so possibly that thing is not cut out for you. So a lot of times if something is not going your way, they always say that rejection is redirection. So over the years, I met so many people who said that I went for SSB, I did not crack it, this happened, that happened, and they've been heartbroken and sad and all that. First of all, if you're good, your destiny is there, and you worked hard for it, you will make it. Like I said, I did not go to any coaching, I did not do anything, but I knew what is necessary, and I kept visually imagining how I'll be as an officer, what are the things expected of me. You know, you mentally prepare yourself and you see it happen, and it happened. God was kind. So definitely try with all your, effort. It'll happen. However, if that doesn't happen for any reason, then always believe that there is another path which is waiting for you, and that is your destiny. And when you connect the dots, when you look back, you realize that it was all very clear. You were meant for something else. And I have at least a few thousand examples now uh, at this age that I've seen where people didn't make it, but they're doing beautifully in whatever career they chose. So never take rejection as everything is over. Nothing is over. It's starting. And see, for me, I've had so many different careers. There was a time when my army career was getting over, and I had chosen it with so much of affection and love. And suddenly, just because I was a girl, I did not have a path forward. I could have grumbled and cried and been angry or upset, but then I said, well, at least I got 10 years to serve. Now let me see what else I can do. And I moved to a new job, and I continue to learn. Some mistakes happen, you realize. Again, like I said, I think knowing your strengths is important. If you're working with your strength, you will do well. But if you're not working with your strength, you try to do things that you're not good at and focus on, let's say, technology is my bane, and I try to build a career, writing softwares. I may not be the best at it, right? So
Yes.
I have to see what is good for me, and I have to do things that I'm good at. So you have to pick careers, you have to make choices that align with the person that you are. And you can very well bring in co-founders or partners or teammates who bring in that strength that you don't have. When you work with
Yes.
somebody who's complementing the strengths that you don't have, well, you make a great combination, right? Great team. So I think the way I'd like to answer is self-awareness. Try to think, what is it that I'm good at, what is it that I want, make a note, write it down, and look at what are my options. And in the army, they taught us to have at least three plans of everything, right? So always have a goal and plan. Say, okay, this is my plan A. I want to join army. Plan B, if this doesn't happen for any reason, what is it that I can do with my qualification, with my capabilities and resources? And then a plan C. The even plan B is not happening. What do I do? So You have three plans. What happens is you crack number one, great. If it doesn't happen, at least you have the second one. And if that also doesn't happen, at least nothing hits you as a shock. You're mentally prepared. कि, "अच्छा, ठीक है, नहीं हुआ तो I know this is something that I wanted to do." So preparing, my dad used to say, hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. So I think that's something that young people must do. Work very hard for your aspiration, your dream, and you'll make it. In case it doesn't happen, also figure what's the worst case scenario. And once you figure that out, it'll never bother you. You'll always be able to stand up in a very resilient manner. And in today's world, the beauty is you don't have only two, three, four set careers like they used to be during our time. They were either doctors or engineers or uh, defense was one, but bank, that's very limited. Today, there are so many. So just stay open to experimenting, and every 5-10 years people can come up with new technology, new type of jobs, new kind of businesses opening up, new kinds of environment shaping up. This is so much that is happening. So just stay open and excited. I think you all are just beginning to enter the real world. Be very excited about it. Be very happy and say, what is it that I can do? And what is it that I've been put on this planet for? What is it that is uniquely me? And how can I serve my country, my planet, my family? And think beyond yourself. I think that's one thing that I find people, everything is about I, me, my. But anybody who works for the larger good always succeeds.
All right,
Yeah.
ma'am. Thank you for your insight, ma'am. It was amazing talking to you. We were very glad. We got to learn a lot of things. We got to learn, especially, a new perspective from you. That was amazing.
I'm so
Thank
glad.
you, ma'am.
I hope you all do really well. Then, God bless. All the best. Do well and keep in touch.